Here we are. We're ready for another 7 minutes on ITSP Magazine with a new short brand story. Today I'm joined by JJ Guy, CEO and co-founder at Sevco, the asset intelligence company delivering enterprise-wide visibility and prioritization across all classes of vulnerability by automating, validating, and tracking vulnerability remediation to drive more proactive security for its enterprise customers. There we are, JJ. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sean. Happy to be here.
And I'm glad to have you on. I'm excited to hear about what you and the Sevco team have built. Traditional systems typically track some vulnerabilities, CVEs and things like that, but leave a bunch of stuff uncovered, which leaves them exposed. And I know the term exposure management is something that you hear quite a bit. So kind of frame the picture for us about what you're hearing from customers.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, when they first started vulnerability assessment programs and build in our vulnerability management programs, the definition of a vulnerability was a CVE, a software vulnerability. And you had a vulnerability assessment platform that reported that back. Well, there's a couple things that have changed in the industry since then. You've got the increased complexity of enterprise networks, the degradation of the enterprise perimeter, the adoption of SaaS, the shift to cloud infrastructure, mobile devices, and all of that is creating a whole lot more complexity in the way our networks are built and managed when compared to, say, the days of 20 years ago, where you had an enterprise network, a firewall, a whole bunch of devices that never left the physical location of your devices or your buildings. That has given rise to a whole slew of different kinds of vulnerabilities. And we got a whole bunch of different platforms these days reporting those. External attack surface management, the cyber asset attack surface management, cloud security posture management, data security, blah, 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 blah. And all of those are specialized platforms to study your existing infrastructure and help surface some of the vulnerabilities, for lack of a better word, right alongside the rest of the software vulnerabilities that the vulnerability assessment products are still producing. That's in addition to the challenge that it used to be we had just one vulnerability assessment platform reporting software vulnerabilities. And like these days, because of that explosion and complexity in all the infrastructure, like folks have half a dozen. So now the vulnerability management teams in any given enterprise have got a dozen or more different platforms, all reporting different kinds of vulnerabilities, half of them CVEs and software vulnerabilities that are overlapping in complex ways nobody can tease out. And then all the rest of these other classes of vulnerabilities that folks have to pay attention to. And working through all of that is a huge amount of manual toil.
Yeah, overwhelming. Just the CVs alone is enough. So how does that impact remediation?
Yeah, there's a huge amount of complexity there. It starts with which one of those problems is the most important. Which one of those is the most critical? Like in the world of CVEs, at least, we've started to talk about vulnerability prioritization, risk-based vulnerability management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Go down the list. But because there's been such an increase in the volume of CVEs, it's outstripped our ability to patch all of them. So organizations have to decide where to start. And then at the same time, you've got to compare those. Where do you spend your time? You've got all these vulnerabilities reported by your external attack surface management players, CASM, players like us, and a limited number of resources to go fix and address those issues. It's made prioritization that much more important.
Talk to me a bit about validating the results
Yeah.
and actually measuring the results.
So that's part of what Sevco is focused on. But one of the things we highlight in our as part of our traditional asset intelligence platform is the deployment of your various endpoint agents. There's three key ones in every enterprise: your vulnerability assessment agent, your patch management agent, and then your endpoint security agent. That makes sure you have visibility into the traditional software vulnerabilities from any given source, that you have the tool chain in place to be able to fix those. And then three, inevitably, when you miss one, you've got some insurance policy to make sure the endpoint security agent's going to block it. Well, our numbers show that in general, every one of those endpoint agents is underdeployed, missing on 20% of the machines it's supposed to be on. Listen, it doesn't matter how many times your vulnerability analyst opens a ticket with ServiceNow to go patch a given CVE. If the patch management agent is not present, nothing is getting patched. And if your team is spending more time patching CVEs and turning the crank on a list of software vulnerabilities than you are making sure that the tools to see those vulnerabilities and actually fix those vulnerabilities are in place, well, you need to reassess your priorities.
And let's speak to the CISOs now. Customers of yours, what are they telling you they're finding the greatest benefit from?
Oh man, I can give you anecdotes for days. Let's see. Just last week, we had an enterprise with 10,000 employees. They had spent over $1 million on outsourced consultants over the course of 2 years with 2 failed projects trying to get ServiceNow to do this. Then they found us, and we were done in a week, including pushing all that data into ServiceNow for a substantially lower cost. And there's another client whose vulnerability assessment platform was reporting hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities. And they were deep into researching vulnerability prioritization platforms to go figure out how to chip away at that. But after deploying Sevco, they realized that all of those vulns came from just a few hundred machines in one particular remote business unit that were all end-of-life. They didn't have a vulnerability management problem. They had an end-of-life operating system problem with this one business unit, and it changed their entire focus. And that insight was not possible without joining the vulnerability data with the robust asset data, thanks to Sevco.
And with that is 7 minutes here on ITSP Magazine. JJ, thanks for sharing your story.
Sean, thank you.